Hi, this is Tom Mura with World Class Coaching and another in our series of animated drills. This activity is one that I talked about on episode 252 of the Coaching Soccer Weekly podcast. It was specifically focused in on training the six, but this is an activity you could also use just for training your midfield three in general, or even just possession in general, either in a 9v9 or 11v11 type setup. So here's how the game is organized. It's a 40 by 45 yard area roughly. Now the area dimensions can vary based on the age and ability level of your team. I always suggest using the field markings as your guide. So if you're able to train on the same size of field that you play on and you're in half of that field, then you can make everything relative to the size of the field that your players are actually using, which is great. And then we've got on the inside a 20 by 20 yard area. So the way the game works is it's a possession game that's non-directional, but by having a formation of four in the back, three in the midfield, and one up front, that gives it some direction, even if it's just a suggestion of a direction. Then the defending team of five is organized in a 1-3-1 because that gives them kind of a good shape balance-wise, and you'll also see when we use the middle area why that makes sense as well. So why did I do this with 13 players? Because that's how many I had at training. If I would have had, 15 players, then I might have put in the 7 and 11. I may have even put in another defender, just depending on the level of the team. But as you can see later on, 5 works really well for this activity. So the way this flows is the possessing team is trying to complete 10 passes. And my goal for them was to try to play through the 6 as often as they could. So by using the 2 and the 3 and getting them really wide, trying to open up that space in the middle and having the 4 and the 5 dropping, then if somebody pressured here and then we were able to get the ball wide, then we can play the 6, go out the other way, go out through the 8 and the 10, ultimately getting into the 9. When we did that, then I wanted the 2s and 3s to push up high to create support on the outside. So you can see kind of how the formation is flipped, but the idea is still the same, and the idea of trying to get into the 6 is still the same. If we were able to get back into the 6, then I wanted those 2s and 3s dropping in order to support the 4 and 5 when they got the ball. So like I say, while it's non-directional, I think that formation does give it some structure. Now, if the defending team wins the ball, their objective was to take it inside this middle area, and I'll just flip this one player around. And they're bringing it inside this 20 by 20 in order to possess it there. The only players allowed in this area are the defending midfield 3. Now, obviously, this isn't to scale with the players and the dimensions of the field, but hopefully you get the idea of how then everything comes on the inside. These players are encouraged to keep the game big, keep the field spread, so that when a defending player, who are now in black, win the ball, then they work the ball out again and then open up the game in order to possess the ball. So obviously when we lose the ball, we get compact. When we win the ball, then we try to expand the game and stretch it, making it difficult for these 5 players to gain possession back from the 8 players. So the game kind of flows in and out, and I thought it worked really well for that purpose. I also thought that the players that I had in that number 6 role understood the ideas of trying to find the window, receive it from one side, play it out the other, or play it up if that was open. So the game flowed well in and out. I thought, the idea of collapsing the midfield and having them work together worked really well, because when the ball moved around the grid, different players had to press and different players had to tuck in. So it wasn't always the 8 and 10 pressing. Sometimes it was the 6 pressing and the 8 and 10 coming in. So I just thought it flowed well, thought the players understood what it was that we were trying to do, and it turned out to be a really good possession game. In the future, I might use this then and then, perhaps create some goals so it's a little bit more directional. But I thought it worked well for what it was, and while it's not exactly game-like, I thought it served its purpose well. So if your team is kind of struggling with that role of the 6, or that organization of the midfield three, the idea of kind of becoming compact and spreading out, I'd suggest giving this a try and seeing how it works with your own team.